Mr. Jordan,
Yeah.
I'm hosting today. Am I
Oh,
working?
are you?
I
Oh,
thought
I have my name down.
I can't.
You can if you want.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
I will. I ain't got nothing going on.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we are going to begin with our misdemeanor expedited accusation calendar. These are misdemeanor cases which have been newly or recently accused by the prosecutor, who is the Fulton County Solicitor General, after the defendants were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. This would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, I will let you know what is your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, to appoint counsel when necessary, set a bond, and give you a new court date. Please keep in mind that when we are addressing each of the defendant's cases, the defendant has a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. In terms of the bond, depending on the individual's criminal record history, if there is one, as well as the nature of the charges, or if there are any other open cases pending against the defendant, I will take all these factors into consideration as well as the attorney's arguments to determine whether the defendant qualifies for a signature bond, in which you won't have to pay for the bond, but you would have to comply with certain conditions. Or you may qualify for what we call a surety or cash bond, in which you would have to pay for the bond out of your own pocket or through a bonding company, and conditions may still attach. For those of you who are unable to be released on bond, you will be given a new court date. And I think it's Miss Lewis. Miss Lewis, what's our new court date? Or Miss Grace?
Ooh, Judge, yeah, our new court date for reset for SAP is going to be January the 30th.
All right.
That's
For
on a
those of
Thursday.
you who are unable to be released on bond, your next court date will be January 20th, 2025,
30th.
9 a.m. And that will also be a virtual proceeding. So for those who are planning to attend, please obtain a Zoom link.
Judge, is January the 30th.
Oh, did I say that? January 30?
Yeah, you said January the 20th.
Oh,
It's,
20, excuse
it's
me.
3-0.
30. Got it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right. Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
We have position number 6, Mr. Johnson.
All right, Mr. Jerome Johnson, middle name Anderson, is accused of theft by shoplifting from January 15th, 2025, case number 25CR288G. Mr. Johnson, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is going to be Mr. Shatea. And any priors, Ms. Hardy?
Excuse me. The last arrest was January 5th, 2025, out of DeKalb for possession and use of drug-related objects. They have a total of 8 arrest cycles, arrests out of Georgia, Virginia, and Massachusetts. There appears to be a hold out of Chesterfield, Virginia for violation of a court order. The date of that warrant is March the 3rd, 2021. There is a felony conviction for burglary in 2024. It appears that they're on probation in Fulton for that. And that case number is 24 SC 000431. Nothing further to report.
All right. Ms. Mukasey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at the Walmart located at 844 Cleveland Avenue Southwest in East Point. The defendant is accused of stealing $77 worth of items from the incident location. Given his very recent arrest and felony conviction from 2024, the state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond, stay away from the incident location, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Mr. Shatea?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 29. He has lived in Atlanta for about the past 7 years. He finished high school. He served in the U.S. Navy for about 2 years before leaving on good terms. According to my client, he's also in the process of seeing a doctor for PTSD and schizophrenia, although I don't believe he is currently being treated. According to the public safety assessment, he has not had any failures to appear in the past 2 years. And if it helps the court's analysis, I'd like to emphasize once again that in this case, it only involved $77 worth of goods. So it's more of a nominal value than not. For those reasons, we ask either for a we ask for a signature bond, or alternatively, if that's not possible, then the lowest bond value that's reasonably necessary for this case.
It's a $500 surety bond. Stay away from the Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue. Stay away from all Walmart stores, actually. And next court date is going to be January 30th, 30, 9 a.m. Thank you. Next case, please.
We have position number 11, Mr. Sakria. Did I say that right? Martin Sakara.
Good afternoon, Judge.
Mr.
Bimal
Chopra.
Chopra for Mr. Sakara.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon. Mr. Martin Gregory Sakara, I'm going to go with that, has been accused of misdemeanor theft by shoplifting from June 24th, 2023. His case number is 25 CR 2000292H. This case has been recently accused by the Solicitor General. You've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Bimal Chopra. I've noticed he's got 3 holds out of Nevada, California, and Florida. Would that be correct, Ms. Hardy?
I have California, Nevada, and Tennessee.
And Tennessee, okay. And does he have a recent case from Cobb County Jail?
I'm showing that was the last arrest on December 17th, 2024.
All right, thank you. Ms. Allen, anything to add?
Your Honor, the defendant does have a multi-state history. I would note, this is an incident from June of 2023. The defendant was serving time in prison in Florida immediately following this incident. Investigation was done by Target Loss Prevention. This is an incident that happened at 5570 Roswell Road in Sandy Springs at the Target there. On surveillance, the defendant is going through the self-checkout with his co-defendant, Mary Vargas, who he then leaves in a vehicle with that's registered to the 2 of them out of Florida. While they go through the self-checkout, they scan some minimal items like Scotch tape, but decline to scan about $279 worth of merchandise there in items that are sporting goods items. So investigation was done through Target Corporate and a police report was made. The warrant was issued, but because the defendant has been out of state and in prison, here we are, just able to move forward today.
Recommendation?
We're asking for $1,000 surety bond, Your Honor, to stay away from Target and all Targets, but specifically the one at that location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right. Mr. Chopra is going to be a $2,500 signature bond through the jail, and he cannot bond out subject to his multi-holds. So whoever picks him up first or extradites him first, that's where he'll go.
I understand, Judge, and I will remain his counsel as he's in these other jurisdictions. So if and when he has court appearances, I will let them know where he's at, and I will remain engaged.
And he's to stay away from all Target stores, including the Roswell Road location. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
We have position number 8, Ms. Leek.
Okay. This is Miss Layla Leek, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property and simple battery family violence from January 16th of this year. Accusation 25 CR 291Y. Ms. Leek, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Okay. And Ms. Hardy, any priors?
No history to report at this time.
All right. She's 17 or 18?
I believe she's 17.
All right. And what is the state's, I'm sorry, is, I can't remember who was it. Was it Miss King or?
Angel King.
Angel King is her mother. Her stepfather is Gregory King. I believe they're both on the Zoom.
Okay, that's good. And Miss Allen, what's your recommendation?
Recommendation is a $4,000 SOB through pretrial, no violent contact with either Angel King or Gregory King. Requirement that she attend school regularly, a curfew, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. And we'd ask for an evaluation and to follow through with any recommendations.
Ooh, and a
This
curfew.
is an incident that occurred in the parking lot outside of where this family lives, 1465 Mid Broadwell Road in Alpharetta. The defendant actually tried to interrupt her stepfather from calling police, and that's when she grabbed him and struck him or pushed him. She had been engaged in an altercation with her mom, who had repeatedly asked her to take out the trash. She reported that her daughter got increasingly aggressive, and when she finally did take the trash out in the afternoon, mom locked the door behind her when she went outside. Mom reported to police that she just wanted the child to apologize, but evidently that wasn't going to happen. The defendant in front of you proceeded to repeatedly bang on the door and punch the door, and then she pulled the surveillance camera down and threw it. Mom was inside, Mrs. King was inside. She didn't realize Gregory King had come home. And so when he got home, he realized something was going on. He saw his stepdaughter outside, and he reported that she approached him aggressively. And that's when he went to go call police, and she struck him. We just think that there might be some anger management issues, maybe some things that can happen at this point to help at this crossroads, Your Honor. If you'd
Okay.
sound for the Kings, that might make sense too. Thank you.
All right, I do see Angel King. Miss King, you are in a virtual courtroom. Please remove your hat. Gregory King, if you want to address the court, please unmute and start your video. Angel King, we will remove you from Zoom unless you remove your hat. Thank you. Gregory King?
It's off.
Gregory
Yes,
King,
yes, Your Honor.
need your video on if you want to address the court.
I do, but
Mrs.
I'm
King, did you have something to add?
No, ma'am.
All
I
right.
just took that.
And you're comfortable with Layla being home with you?
Yes, I really want her home. I'm
Does she
devastated.
want to be home? Let me ask you that.
Does she want to be home? Is that what you
Yes.
asked her?
Well, she's nodding her head. Okay. Mr. Gregory King, if you want to address the court, you'll need your video on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm having trouble with my video
All right.
on my computer, but
Um,
I would like her home.
okay. Mr. McLean, it's going to be a signature bond through pretrial. On the criminal trespass is going to be $1,500. On the simple battery is going to be $1,500. This is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Mrs. Angel King, you will need to come down. I mean, not come down. Well, they've done away with the cosigner, but the problem is it's a pretrial bond and it's a signature bond. So, Miss Hardy, do you still have the forms that you sent to the parents?
I don't have it on. I can get one sent over if I need to.
All right. Miss Angel King, you will need to provide your email address in the chat, please.
Okay.
I will need Angel King to co-sign this bond. Miss Layla Leak, right now you can be released on a $3,000 signature bond, which means you don't have to pay for the bond, but you'll have to comply with the following conditions. If you fail to comply or if you get arrested again, the next time you're in jail, please remember to bring $3,000 because that's how much it'll cost you to be released. The conditions are no violent contact with Angel King and Gregory King. There cannot be any physical or verbal altercations, nor any damage to property unless you are paying the rent and you own the property. Those will be the only two times. Two exceptions where you'll be allowed to damage any property. But unless you're paying all the rent or unless you own the property, you are not allowed to damage any property. You are to continue and attend a school if you are completing high school or if you're attending college or if you're pursuing a GED, you're required to comply with that. You'll be subject to a curfew of 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. You're not allowed to step out of the home between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And within 15 days of being released, you are to submit yourself to a mental health evaluation and submit yourself to any treatment and or medication that is required by the evaluation. You can go to your own doctor or you can find a qualified healthcare provider, but you need to show proof that such an evaluation has been done to your pre-trial officer by your second visit. This will be a 3,000 signature bond through pre-trial level 1, so she'll be required to report to pre-trial services once a month. Ms. Leek, I'm very serious. If you fail to comply with these conditions, or if you get arrested again, if you fail to report to pretrial, or if you fail to show up to court when summoned, this $3,000 bond will be converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. Thank you.
Judge, what, you said
Ma'am?
there's a co-signer?
I have a question.
Ms. Lewis, the co-signer is Angel King. Yes, Ms.
Angel
King,
King,
what's the
okay.
question?
Um, she is a varsity cheerleader, and they have basketball games. So is she to be benched at this time? Because the basketball games usually start at 7 or 7:30 for varsity basketball.
The only exception to the curfew then will be for school-related activities.
Understood. Thank you.
All right. Next case, please.
We have position number
Mr. and Ms.
three.
King, you're free to go once we have your email. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Madam.
Sorry,
Right.
Deputy, I interrupted. What was that case number?
I'm sorry, position number three, Mr.
3?
Franklin.
Okay. This is Sean Franklin, accused of simple battery, family violence, and criminal trespass causing damage to property. Case number 25 CR 286A. Mr. Franklin, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Shatea. Any priors, Mr. Hardy?
The last arrest was January 3rd, 2023, out of Rockdale for a probation violation. They just have one arrest cycle. Nothing further to report.
Okay, so this is the second arrest. Ms. Mukeke?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened at 2211 Larchwood Road Southwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Franco Foster. The defendant is accused of striking the victim in the head during an argument and also striking the victim's windshield, causing damage to the windshield. The defendant told officers that he was upset because the victim's wife had been saying that she was unhappy with him, and the defendant was telling the victim that he needed to leave the residence. The defendant did admit to officers that he mushed the victim's head, and he also admitted to striking the windshield, causing it to crack. Our office has spoken with Mr. Foster, who stated that the incident location is his wife's residence and that they had been allowing the defendant to live there because he had nowhere else to go. Mr. Foster stated the defendant is an acquaintance of his wife. He confirmed the events in the warrant, stated this is not the first time the defendant has been violent towards him, but this is the first time that the police have been called. He wants no contact with the defendant and wants him to stay away from the residence. The state's recommendation is for a signature bond through pretrial services, stay away from the incident location, no further contact with the victim, a one-time law enforcement escort to get his belongings, that the defendant take an anger awareness course, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask the court to sound for Mr. Franco Foster.
Mr. Foster, if you're on Zoom and if you want to address the court, please unmute and start your video. Mr. Shatea, any objection to the stay away provision?
Yes, I'm here.
You need your video on, Mr. Foster.
Uh-oh. How do I?
All right. Mr. Shatea, I'm so sorry. Do you have any objection to the stay away?
Yes, Your Honor. My client informed me that he would have nowhere else to live if he was made to stay away from this location. Also, I'd like to emphasize for the court that this location is not the alleged victim's. It belongs to his wife. And also, my client informed me that this location belongs to his godmother, whom my client is taking care of. He informed me that his godmother had her second stroke and he constantly needs to be at home to look after her needs. So for that reason, he would object to a stay away provision.
So 2211 Lodge, I can pronounce that
Larchwood
word.
Road, Southwest.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Foster, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's on the lease at that property?
My wife, LaPhaedra Tony Foster.
LaPhaedra. And is Miss LaPhaedra Foster also Mr. Franklin's godmother?
No.
Okay. Does the godmother live there?
She's passed. She's deceased.
She's what?
Hold on. Well, his godmother, well, I guess what he calls his godmother, but yeah, she's here.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No,
And
no.
Mr. Foster, are you related to the godmother?
That's my legal wife.
Oh, that's your wife. I see. Okay. Thank you very much. Anything else, Mr. Chate?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. On the simple battery is going to be 1,500. On the criminal trespass is 1,000. Mr. Franklin has a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Mr. Franklin, you are to have no further contact with Franco Foster and with his wife, LaPhaedra Foster, I guess. You are to stay away from 2211 Lodgman Road in Southwest Atlanta. Within 30 days of being released, you are to update the court with your new mailing address. You're allowed a one-time visit to Lodgman Road with a police officer to retrieve your belongings, but after that, you are to give us a new address and a new location. If you violate these conditions, your bond will be surrendered and changed to either a surety bond or a cash bond. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and you are to complete 2 anger awareness classes. Thank you.
We can go to ACDC if they're ready.
All right, Mr. Foster, you're free to go. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
ACDC, who do we, all right, how many folks do we have there?
It's going to be 3 over here, Judge. Good afternoon, Judge Law.
Good afternoon. All right, for the individuals who are at ACDC, I'll just like to remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Who shall we begin with, Deputy Francois?
It's going to be position number 1, Alston.
Okay. Ebony Alston, case number 25CR283D, is accused of battery family violence from January 16, 2025. Ms. Alston, you have been advised of your right to remain silent. Ms. McLeod, is that your client?
Your Honor, good afternoon.
Morning. Afternoon, sorry. And Ms. McLeod, Ms. Mokeke, do you know if Candace Starr was also arrested from this incident?
Yes, Your Honor, this was a dual arrest with Ms. Starr, but our office determined that Ms. Alston was the primary aggressor, so Ms. Starr's charges were NOD'd.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hardy, any priors, please?
The last arrest was October 17th, 2023, out of Columbia, South Carolina, for public disorderly conduct. That is their only arrest cycle, nothing further.
All right. Ms. Mokeke, anything to recommend?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident occurred at 615 in Oliver Street. Ms. Alston is accused of striking Ms. Starr, causing lacerations to her fingers. The parties have been dating for about 6 months and living together for about 10 days at the time of the incident. Given her limited criminal history, the state's recommendation is a signature bond. No further contact with Ms. Candace Starr. Stay away from the incident location. That is, unless the defense has other information about the parties' wishes regarding contact. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
Right. Candace Starr, if you're on Zoom, this will be the time to unmute and start your video.
No, Judge, she's over here. She's over here, Judge.
Oh, all right.
She's here at ACDC. Her charge was dismissed.
Okay, can I switch her around with Miss Alston for just 30 seconds? Ms. Candace Starr, my name is Judge Law. The good news is the prosecutor has dropped the charges against you. The other question I have is, who is on the lease or who owns the property at 615 Oliver Street? I can't hear you.
I do.
All right. Is Miss Alston on the lease?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Francois. You may have Miss Alston back.
Okay.
All right. And anything else, Ms. Mokeke or Ms. McLeod? And any objection to a stay away?
Your Honor, it would depend on what the other lady wishes since it's her place. My client would prefer to be able to go back there, but of course.
Well, I purposely did not ask that question, but that's why I'm waiting to hear if there are any specific objections from the defendant?
Well, she would prefer to go back there because she moved in with her recently. She moved from South Carolina, and she is not currently employed. So, of course, it would be a hardship for her if she were not able to go back there.
Understood. This happened recently, and I understand from the warrant she's only been living there for 10 days, so there is no tenancy created at the present time. The bond is going to be set at $2,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further contact with Candace Starr after today. She's to stay away from 615 Oliver Street in Atlanta, Georgia. So she's required to update the court with a new mailing address within 30 days of being released. It can either be in Georgia or South Carolina, wherever she decides to go. If she moves back to South Carolina, I will allow her reporting to pretrial to be telephonic or however pretrial likes to do a online contact. As I said, no further contact with Candace Starr. Stay away from 615 Oliver Street. She's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve her personal belongings. But after today, she needs to stay away. Her next court date will be sent to her at her new mailing address, since it can't be Oliver Street any longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLeod. See you maybe tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, Francois, next case.
Okay, and that was a 2,500 SOB to pretrial level 1, correct? Judge?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Position number 7, Jordan.
Open, there we are. Kiriaja Jordan is accused of theft by taking from March 25th, 2023. Ms. Jordan, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Mr. Chate, and your case number is 25 CR 289B. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was April 21st, 2019, out of Atlanta for theft by receiving and driving without a license. They have a total of 3 arrest cycles, nothing further.
Ms. Mukeke?
Yes, Your Honor. Those other 2 arrests I have are also from 2019. She has an affray fighting and also a disorderly conduct, willful obstruction. The victim in this case is Ms. Alicia Haythorne. The victim told officers that she allowed the defendant to use her phone to help set up her hotspot for her, and the defendant then transferred the victim's $829 disability check from the victim's chime account to the defendant's chime account. The state's recommendation is a signature bond, no further contact with the victim, stay away from the victim's residence, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
I didn't know that could be done, but then again, I'm no IT person. Mr. Chate is going to be a $1,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further contact with Elisa Horton, and she'll need to provide us with a current mailing address. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms.
Position number 9, Lauren.
This is State versus Carly Vence Loring, accused of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and giving false information from January 13th, 2025. Her current case number is 25 CR 00282E. I'm sorry, that was 3 zeros and then 282E. Ms. Loring, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Ms. Hardy, can I confirm she has holds in Chatham County, Cobb County, and Gwinnett County?
I did not see any holds on the GCIC for her.
I did.
Okay. And can I confirm she's got an open case 25 PI 409?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ms. Allen, do you have any objection to a signature bond through the jail with a release to the holds, or if she's got a felony bond?
That's fine, Your Honor. No driving, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Okay. On each count, it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Unfortunately, Miss Loring cannot be released because she's got either a felony hold. I don't know what her felony bond is, but she's also got multiple holds from Chatham County, Cobb County, and Gwinnett County. So she'll need to wait for one of them to come pick her up. Miss Loring, this is still an open, active case against you. And you are only allowed to operate a vehicle if you have a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This will be further notice for trial.
Judge, what was the dollar amount?
1,000 on each count, signature bond through the jail, subject to holds.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, moving on, courtroom 2. Oh, was that it, Francois? I'm sorry.
Yes, we're completed here at
All
AP.
right, see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Courtroom 2, who do we have?
Position number 5, is the board.
This is the dude that exposed himself. Let's see, he was.
This is, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Allen.
He's gonna be like, we're gonna put this to the end.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Your Honor, are you gonna maybe want to put this to the end of the calendar?
Yeah, we can do that.
I've already read the warrant. There's no reason to go into the details unless you
Okay.
have something expressly to state. So,
No, just checking
okay.
in.
Okay. Mr. Effie Isabor is accused of public indecency and from January 16, 2025, case number 25 CR 0000287F. We're going to waive sounding on the details of the allegations. But at the present time, Mr. Isabor, you have a right to remain silent in anything you say in open court. Your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you presently is Mr. Chate. Mr. Chate, is it all right if we waive sounding on the underlying allegations? Unless you want to go into a breakout, then we can address this at the end of the calendar.
Could we address this at the end of the calendar?
Certainly. Deputy, we'll address Mr. Isabor's case towards the end. We'll take the next case.
We'll go with position number 2, Mr. Battle.
All right, I apologize. I seem to have lost my connection with my computer, but I'm back. I'm sorry, Deputy, shall we move on to the next calendar? Who do we have?
We have position number 2, Mr. Battle.
Thank you. This is State versus Montez Battle. The battle is accused of, oh, sorry. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you, Your Honor.
Good, all right. Sorry, this is Mr. Montez Battle, accused of theft by taking from January 15th, 2025, case number 25 CR 285F. Mr. Battle, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. Chate. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was April 18th, 2024 out of Fulton County for a probation violation. They have 11 adult cycles in Georgia. Felony conviction in 2016 for armed robbery. They got first offender on that and it was sealed in 2022. 2020 false imprisonment. There's an open case for possession of Schedule II controlled substance, possession during the commission of a felony and by a convicted felon. That number is 21 SC 178313. Nothing further.
All right. And Ms. Mukeke?
Yes, Your Honor, I have that this incident occurred at 1314 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Northwest Atlanta. The victim in this case is Chantel Isbell. The defendant is accused of taking the victim's Shein package from her front door. The theft was caught on the victim's Ring camera. The defendant did admit to taking the package and says that he did so to show the victim that she shouldn't mess with his family. Our office has spoken with Ms. Isbell, who stated that she does not know the defendant. She's never had an interaction with him prior to this incident. She states that he lives directly across from her. She lives in apartment 2303, and she thinks the defendant lives in apartment 2302. She states that the defendant is the nephew of the leaseholder of that apartment, who I believe is Melissa Tanner, per the information that was in the warrant. She says that she didn't even know there was a problem between her and the defendant until this incident, and that the defendant has been acting aggressive, and she now believes his family is taunting her through her Ring camera. She did get her package back, but says that it was opened. She states that she's afraid for her safety from the defendant and his family. She wants no contact and wants him to stay away from the residence. Given his history and the fact that he has an open case, the state's recommendation is $1,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim. I'm asking for a stay away because I think his address, I have it as Old Hapeville Road, Atlanta. So I'm not sure that he actually lives in that apartment, but I'll let the defense speak more to whether or not he lives in the complex. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond.
All right. Chantel Isbell, if you are present, this will be the time to, there we are. All right. Ms. Isbell, would you like to contribute to the proceeding?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Battle, if you could please sit up. Please sit up straight. All right. Do you recognize the person in courtroom 2?
Yes.
No, I'm not asking you, sir. Ms. Isbell, do you recognize the person in courtroom 2?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you know this person?
This is my neighbor's nephew.
And what is the
Okay,
address of this apartment? What is the apartment complex called?
Parkside
Parkside,
Apartment.
just Parkside Apartments?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's the address for Parkside Apartments?
1314 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30318.
All right. Anything else to add?
Yes, I would like to add that this was premeditated. He targeted me. It was a hate crime, even though it wasn't actually a hate crime. When he was confronted about my merchandise, he was very aggressive. He was filled with hate. I do feel unsafe in my home, and I had to take extra precautions to make sure that my property is safe and my own safety.
Okay. And what exactly was taken?
My package. It was a Valentine's Day gift for one of my guests.
And where was it delivered?
It was delivered right directly in front of my door.
And how do you know Mr. Battle?
I never had any communication or anything prior to the day that he was confronted.
Okay. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. As I just stated, this was premeditated. I am concerned for my safety, and I do want the courts to take this into consideration due to this being obviously an ongoing issue. He admitted to the officer that he's a criminal and that he has done this before. My packages have been missing as of recently, and this is the only one that I know he's responsible for. But as I stated, he is aggressive, and I do fear for my life.
How do you know he's responsible for your prior missing packages?
I don't know that he's responsible for my prior packages, but I do know that recently he's been over there. As I stated, I didn't know him prior to when he just got to the residence as of recently.
Okay, thank you.
And
Um,
just to reiterate, Your Honor, this theft where he took her Shein package was caught on her Ring camera.
and Mr. Battle allegedly on that footage?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. McLean or Mr. Chate, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor, this is my client. He's 25. He's a lifelong resident of Atlanta, so he has a minimal flight risk. He holds a GED. For the past 2 years, he has worked as a construction laborer for a company located on Northside Drive. And I'd also like to add that the value for the property that was allegedly stolen was $30. So it's a nominal value. For those reasons, we ask the court to consider giving my client a signature bond, but if that's not possible, then we ask for a reduction in the surety amount.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Mokeke?
No, nothing else, Your Honor.
All right. Bond is set at 2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Mr. Battle, you can sign up for your bond and you're required to report to pretrial once a month. You are to stay away from the entire complex called the Parkside Apartments at 1314 Donnelly Hollowell Parkway in Atlanta, Georgia, 30318, including the unit where you allegedly occupy with others. You are to update the court with your new mailing address, which has to be more than 200 yards away from the entire Parkside Apartments complex. You are to have no further contact with Chantel Isbell. You are to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including through a third-party mail, email, in-person, phones, and social media. If you violate any of these conditions, and the prosecutor is free to file a motion to revoke your signature bond, and it will be converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Next court date will be sent to your new mailing address, which cannot be at the Parkside Apartments. Thank you. All right, Mrs. Bell, you're free to go.
Next we have position number 4, Mr. Ham.
This is State versus Charles Ham, accused of 2 counts of simple battery family violence from January 16th of 2025. Mr. Ham, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Mr. Chate. Any priors, Ms. Hardy?
The last arrest was July 14th, 2024, out of Fulton County for criminal damage to property. That case is open under 24 PI 005044. There's a total of 11 arrest cycles in Georgia. Felony conviction in 2013 for armed robbery and false imprisonment. 2012 armed robbery and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. There appears to be a hold out of Lawrenceville for a probation violation. And the date of that warrant is October 24th, 2024. Nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Mokeke?
Yes, Your Honor. The incident location is 3540 North Camp Creek Parkway in Atlanta. I have that is the Preserve at Camp Creek apartment complex. The victim in this case is Marquisia Turner, who is in a relationship with the defendant, and also the defendant lives with her. The defendant is accused of grabbing the victim by her neck with both hands, lifting her off of her feet, and then throwing her to the ground, while the victim's 2 children were present and watching. One of them is 13. The other I have is 16. The assault was witnessed by officers who were responding to the incident location in regards to a dispute call. The defendant was intoxicated at the time of the incident. Our office has spoken with Ms. Turner, who confirmed that her and the defendant were in a relationship. They lived together and they shared no children. She states that earlier in the day, her and the defendant got into an argument. When the defendant returned to the residence, he was drinking and acting erratic. He was threatening to shoot her in the face and bust her windows out. She then said something that the defendant did not like, and that is when he grabbed her by the neck and drove her into the wall. The defendant then began grabbing at her and mushing her face. Her 2 children had to intervene. Her son, Marquavius, called the police and then tried to give her the phone so that she could talk to dispatch, but the defendant prevented her from doing so and threw the phone out the window. The defendant then began fighting her son, grabbing him and also mushing him in the face. Eventually, her other son went outside and called the police, and once the police arrived, She was walking outside towards them when the defendant ran behind her, pushed her, grabbed her by the neck. She did tell our office that she wasn't slammed to the ground, so she clarified that point, but she did also state that she sustained marks on her chest as a result of this incident. That open 24 PI case that pretrial mentioned earlier involves the defendant and the same victim where he destroyed her property. He was ordered to have no contact as part of his bond conditions in that case. Stay away from the residence. The victim told our office that she was unaware of that order in the 24 PI case. She, of course, wants no contact with the defendant and wants him to stay away from her residence. She states that the defendant's belongings have already been removed from the residence. The state's recommendation is a $4,000 surety bond, stay away from that incident location, no further contact with the victim or her minor children, that he undergo an FVIP, no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And I would just ask the court to please sound for Ms. Turner.
Yes, I do someone here by the name of Markesia Turner. Ms. Turner? If you want to address the court, this is the time to unmute and start your video. All right. Mr. Chate, anything to add?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 36. He has been a Georgia resident his whole life. He lives in Decatur. He obtained a GED. For the past 7 months, he has been working for a company which I believe is called Salina Sanitation. He has been a custodian there. Per the public safety assessment report, I did not notice any failures to appear in court. I would argue that he is a minimal flight risk. Therefore, I ask for this court to consider either a signature bond, but if that's not possible, then a surety amount that is reasonably necessary.
Okay. I'm looking at this $6,000 surety bond that Mr. Ham received on July 15th, 2024 in felony case 24 PI 5044, where he was required to stay away from 3540 North Camp Creek Parkway, have no contact with Markesia Turner and the two minors, MT and KT. And this is the alleged incident from January 16, 2025. So it appears that Mr. Ham is in violation of his felony bond order, but I'll let the district attorney's office handle that matter. On count one of the family violence order, that's going to be a $2,500 cash bond only. On count two is going to be a $2,500 cash bond only. His total bond is a $5,000 cash bond. In case you didn't understand the first bond order, Mr. Ham, let me reiterate. You are to stay 200 yards away, that's the length of 2 football fields, from Markesia Turner and her 2 children. You cannot be seen within 200 yards of them. You cannot communicate with them in person, through a mail, email, a phone, a third party, or even on social media. You are to stay 200 yards away from 3540 North Camp Creek, wherever that apartment complex is, including apartment E11, if Miss Turner and her children still live there. If she moves, you are required to stay 200 yards away from wherever she lives, wherever she is working, and so forth. In the event that you make bond, you're only allowed to be released to the Gwinnett County hold, and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And if there are any further violations of the bond order, then the next step is the imposition of an ankle monitor, where you will be required to pay for the monitoring fees. So the present time is a $5,000 cash bond. Do you have any questions about your stay away and no contact? No? Okay. Then that will be the court order. It's a $5,000 cash bond only. And your next court date is January 30th. Thank you. Next case, please.
Number 10. Yes.
This is State versus Rick Montanus, giving false information to an officer in possession use of drug-related object from January 15th, 2025. Case number 25 CR 281E. You've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. McLean. Ms. I just need to know how many cycles he's got.
There's 15 total.
Okay. And can you confirm a hold by the Department of Corrections from North Carolina?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Allen or any objections to a signature bond to the release to the hold?
No, Your Honor, we would just request that there be an order that he stay away from the location.
Okay.
Specifically, that's 9955 Old Dogwood Road in Roswell. It's the Studio 6 apartment complex.
And thank you, Your Honor.
All right. On count one is $1,000 signature bond through the jail. Count two is a $500 signature bond to the jail. Total is $1,500 signature bond through the jail. Mr. Montanez, although it's a signature bond, you cannot be released because you've got a North Carolina hold. So you'll only be released once North Carolina comes and picks you up in accordance with extradition law. In the event that you're released from either the jail or the hold, you are to stay 200 yards away from the entire apartment complex at 9995 Old Dogwood Trail, which would be the Studio 6 apartments. Thank you.
Also, just to clarify that, the bond is, the signature is released from Atlanta, but I have the hold from North Carolina, correct?
You have a release bond, but you cannot be released from the jail because North Carolina has to come pick you up.
Yes. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Number 5, going back to position number 5. Come on.
Is that our last case, Deputy?
It is.
And if you can just let me know if all the other defendants have been removed from the courtroom.
Everyone is gone.
All right, thank you. I have a Bella Love. Miss Love, are you courthouse staff or? All right, Miss Champion, we can remove Bella
No,
Love.
ma'am, I'm not courthouse staff.
And who are you here for?
I'm here for Latrell Pitts.
Who?
Latrell Pitts.
Do we have that position on this calendar? That name on this? I don't recall that name.
No, we don't.
Okay, Miss Love, this person is not on this calendar. You're free to go. Okay. Miss Champion, we can remove Bella Love from the Zoom, please. And
Will do, Judge.
thank you. And we can pause the live stream or switch it off.